a dual capacity. As a business person, as a community leader, someone who I think is a Youre Sefer, can learn a little Torah. And so I have a message. And maybe it's a different message, but it's an important message. And it starts with a joke. But this punchline of the joke, the punchline of the joke is very, 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 very serious. And here's the joke. You see, there's a TV program. And what they do is they walk around New York and they ask a question. And then if you get the answer right, you get $5,000. But you've got to get the answer right. And so one day they walk in Manhattan, lower Manhattan, and the TV reporter stops someone and says to someone who obviously is a Muslim, "Excuse me, who is the most important person that ever lived in the world?" The person says, "Muhammad." It's a very good answer. It's a wonderful answer, but it's wrong. And then they go and they see someone from India. "Who's the most important person that ever lived?" The person says, simple, Gandhi. Great answer, but it's not right. And they go around and they go around, and finally they find Hasidic Jew, dressed up in a black coat, with his payas and his black hat. And they say, "Excuse me, who's the most important person in the whole world that's ever lived?" He says, "Simple, Jesus." And they say, "You're right. That's the answer. You've won $5,000. And then they say, "But we have to ask you a question. After all, we see you're Jewish. So shouldn't you have said Moses is the most important person that ever lived?" And the Hasidic Jew says, "Moses is Moses, and business is business." I think it's a great story, but the punchline is extremely important. Because in our life, it's not Moses is Moses, and business is business. Moses is Moses, and Moses is Moses. And Torah is Torah, and Torah is Torah. You know, I love, as a business person, I love advertisements and marketing. One of my favorite ads of all time was the ad that you saw when they go to the wonderful city of the United States called Las Vegas. If you've ever been to Las Vegas, you know what happens in Las Vegas. And they show you the scene, Las Vegas. They show you people gambling, and they show you people going out at night. They show you doing everything. And then a big sign comes up, and it says, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas." Well, I want to tell you something, my friends. What happens in the Beis HaMedrash, what happens in your shul, does not stay in your shul. What happens in the Beis HaMedrash, what happens in your shul, then becomes the foundation for everything that you are about. Because your job as business people is to create a Kiddush Hashem in the world. Honor and glorification of the name of God. That's your job. And if you fail in that mission, you have failed completely. Regardless of how much money you make, and how successful you are, and how big your house is, and how nice your car is, and how many vacations you can take, if you do not create a Kiddush Hashem as a Jew, sanctification of God's name, you have lost the essence of what life is all about. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've been in business from the time I'm 15 years old. I started, I know there's some people here in the healthcare field, Margaret Teets School, beautiful building, I've been there. I've been in the home healthcare business for many, many, many years. And I owned a company, it was called Staff Builders. It's a great story, folks. I owned a company called Staff Builders. We were the third largest provider of home health care in America. We had 150 offices. I started with one on Main Street, right down the block here on Roosevelt and Main, and built it, took it public, did a lot of things with it. But making a Kiddush Hashem was always the most important thing. And you see, my mother taught me a great lesson. She said, "Stivalo," she called me, "if you have 150 offices, do me a favor. Don't go to Minneapolis in the winter. Go there in the summer. Go visit your office in Fort Lauderdale in the middle of the winter. That's a smart thing to do. So I take my mother's advice, and I go to Minneapolis, and I'm there in the summertime. And I come back at the end of the meeting, I'm in the airport, and all of a sudden there's a terrible thunderstorm. Terrible thunderstorm. All the flights are being canceled. They put it up on the board. People go crazy. You know how people are in the airport. Everyone's rushing. They don't know what to do. My flight's canceled. And they put up a sign. There will be one flight going to Newark, New Jersey. We were going to LaGuardia. And they said there'll be a van that will take you from Newark to LaGuardia. And so people, of course, started to rush. People started to get agitated. People became animals, rushing around like crazy, knock everybody down, do what you want. And there I see a wonderful Hasidic Yid. Now, in those days I even had blonde hair. I certainly could have taken off my kippah and fit in with the group. But he would have a hard time. And I went over to him, I said, Rabbi Yid, what's your name? Moshe. Ah, Moshe, a beautiful name. I said, Moshe, I see you're getting ready. You ever see the bullfights in Spain? When the bulls are trying to get ready, and he was ready for the action, you know? He was going to go no matter who he knocked down. Didn't make a difference. And I said, Moshe, remember something. You're a Ben Melech. You're the son of the king. And you and I have to act a certain way. Walk with me slowly. We'll go to the gate. I promise you. We'll get 2 seats. Don't worry. Oh, yeah, but I can't. I have to. I said, Moshe, please, listen to me. This is a Kiddush Hashem. People are looking at us. And so we start to go. And we walk slowly. People are rushing and charging. We come to the gate, and I said, let's say to the lady, thank you so much. Because it's not her fault that the weather was inclement. Everyone's yelling at her, the poor lady. What did she do that there was a thunderstorm? And we said, listen, I'm so sorry. I know what's going on, but don't worry, we appreciate what you've done. I said, might you have 2 seats left? Yes, we have 2 middle seats. Moshe says, middle seat? I hate middle seats. I said, Moshe, we're a Ben Melech. And we go on the plane, and we come to the airport in Newark. And there in Newark, there's a van. And I start to say, oh, I better make this van because I have to get home. And I start to rush like crazy. And all of a sudden, Moshe puts his arm around me and says, Steve, you're a Ben Melech, aren't you? I said, you're right. That's what it means when you're in business and you make a Kiddush Hashem. And don't think there's any argument, by the way. I want to read you a pasuk, Parshas Ki Teitzei. And there's no argument between Rav and Shmuel. The Tanoim, the Amoraim do not argue. It's a very, very simple pasuk. I'll read it in English because I think it'll take too much time to read it in Hebrew. I know we have a full program. The pasuk says like this: You shall not have in your pouch a weight and a weight, a large one and a small one. You know, if you're selling it, you put in one. If you're buying, you put in another one. A large one and a small one. And you shall not have in your house a measure and a measure, a large one and a small one. A perfect and honest weight shall you have. A perfect and honest measure shall you have, so your days will be lengthened. For it's an abomination. It's a to'eva of Hashem. If you don't do this and you act corruptly. So you see, there's no argument at all about how we are supposed to act. The Torah is very clear, very specific. We have to act with honesty, integrity, ethics, morality. That's our job, and that's our job as business people. This message is so powerful. It's an incredible message. You see, people think sometimes, if I'm honest, I can't be successful. And I'm telling you here today that if you're honest, you will be more successful. More successful than you can if you're dishonest. Yes, you can be tough, and you can be smart, and you can be clever, and you can be opportunistic, and you can be clever, and you can do all those things. But at the same time, you have to act with respect and dignity. That's what a Ben Melech does. That's what his word is all about. You know, when I started to buy my first company called Staff Builders, I had a small company called Tender Loving Care. We did about $30 million worth of business a year. I had offices, and I had an opportunity to buy this other company called Staff Builders. It was 3 times my size. It changed everything in my business. And it was a publicly traded company, and we had over a year where we had to go through proxy wars and so many other things. Refinancing, financing again. There were 2 other companies that wanted to buy it, and eventually it was sold to me. And I asked the person who owned the company, the day we closed, I said, tell me, why did you decide to sell me the company when I was so much smaller than so many of the other companies that were there? And he said, you know, I've read so much about Orthodox Jews, and I've read the Torah, I've read the Bible, and I know you're all honest and ethical people, and that's why I sold you the company. Thank God you never met an Orthodox Jew. You see, there's a perception out there, and the perception is not that great. And our job is to change that perception. That's what we have to do. The Torah tells you very clearly, V'yosisa hatov v'hayosha b'nei Hashem. You have to do what's good and what's honest in the eyes of God, and we all know what that is. We can fool ourselves. We can rationalize all day and all night, but inside we know what's right and what's wrong. So don't fool yourself. I have in my own company a fund that I set up. You know what it's called? It's called the Kiddush Hashem Fund. I put it aside because if I ever get into an argument with somebody who works for me, we had a misunderstanding, I'd rather give them the money. And I say, you know what? I'd rather have them look out and say, this was an honest person. This was a Jewish person, a Torah Jew. And he's honest and ethical. Doesn't mean people have to love you. And it doesn't mean you can't be tough. And it doesn't mean you can't fire people. But you have to do it the right way. You have to do everything the right way. And if it costs you a little bit more money, so be it. It will come back and you will gain so much more from it. And that's what it's all about. Because you see, we have this principle of Kol Yisrael, Arevim Zeh B'Zeh. We are all responsible for one another. And whatever you do has an effect upon someone else. If you act a certain way, the person sitting next to you, you have meetings tonight. Everyone here is trying to make money. Well, you know what? Look at the person to the left of you. Look at the person to the right of you in the next table. That person can either help you or hurt you. It depends on how they act. You may never know them. There may be a Jew someplace in the world that did business with someone, and because of that, you'll get another deal. You'll do more. You'll do something. You'll be more monthly up. And God forbid if it's not true. Because Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh means we have a responsibility and an obligation and an honor to serve our Kadosh Baruch Hu. Just today, I don't make up stories, folks, let me tell you. I don't make up stories. What I tell you is true. It's not like some rabbi I know told me that every story he tells is either true or will be true. No, my stories are true. They're emes. Today, when I was in my office, and I'm working on a very, very big thing today, a technology thing that can change the entire industry that I'm in. And I was talking to somebody on the phone leading our technology and development department. And he said to me, you know why, Steve? He said, you know what happened? 10 years ago, I met somebody who was an Orthodox Jew. And that person was so honest. He was so ethical, so moral, that I decided that I have to deal with Orthodox Jews. And so when you came along with your company trying to put up the money, and it's millions of dollars, to become our partner, I said to everybody, they're Orthodox Jews. Let's do business with them. I don't know who that person is. I never met that person. But because of that person, I was zocher to be able to get this other thing. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh. That's what it's about. I bought a company one time in Chicago, Illinois. A Mr. Barron owned the company. A wonderful person. I bought it for a fair price. Everything was done great. I came back 2 weeks later. Mr. Barron was still there. I saw he looked very sad. I said, Mr. Barron, what's wrong? You sold your company, you're older now, you could retire, you got more than a fair price. And he said to me, well, I'm so upset that I sold my company. It was my baby. I loved it. I said, Mr. Barron, I'll tell you what, I'll give you back your company. You give me back my money and I'll give you back the company. And he said, would you really? I said, yes. And guess what? He lived another 15 years. When he passed away, He was not a Jewish person. His daughter called me and asked me to be the guest speaker at his funeral because I gave him 15 years of life. Did I have to do it? No. Was I legally obligated to do it? No. But why not do something that's nice and fair and kind and yosher, b'nei Hashem? And it's not always in business. Rabbi Schoenfeld's here. Rabbi Schoenfeld, I know very well because in the years that I was president of the OU, Rabbi Schoenfeld was one of the best employees we ever had at the Orthodox Union in the kashrus department. And there was a person named Rabbi Alexander Rosenberg. He was one of the first people to run the kashrus department. Years after he passed away, the following story happened. There was a company in South Carolina. They were getting to do a run for kashrus, a big run. They needed all the ingredients. One of the ingredients, unfortunately, did not come, and so therefore the company called the Orthodox Union and said, tomorrow morning we are going to do our run. There's going to be one ingredient that's not kosher, and we will put out a disclaimer, we'll put out all the advertisements, because we can't help it, we have to do this run. And the rabbi from the OU said, let me see what I can do. And he went and he called another company 40 miles down the road, a competitor of this company. And he said, you don't have to do this, but there's a competitor of yours, he needs this particular ingredient. Do you think you could get it to him and sell it to him for exactly what you paid for it? And the person said, but it's a competitor of mine, why should I do it? He said, you don't have to do it, but it would be a wonderful thing for the Jewish people. And the person said, would Rabbi Rosenberg, who passed away, would Rabbi Rosenberg know about this in heaven? He said, yes. Not only will he know about it, but he'll bless you for this. That's what it means to make a Kiddush Hashem. And that's what I'm here to tell you tonight. Be successful. Do what you have to do. But go out and remember that what happens in the Beis HaMedrash and what happens in your shul doesn't just stay there, but becomes the foundation of your life. Moses is Moses and business is business. Don't ever forget this lesson. It's so important. Let the Torah and Torah principles be your investment banker. And if you do that, I promise you and guarantee you, you will not only be successful and very, very wealthy, but you'll live a long life, a wonderful life with your family. That's what it's all about. And so it's up to you tonight to say, we're here as business people. We're going to make money, and we're going to do great things, and we're going to make a Kiddush Hashem. And if you do that, you're going to be helping somebody that you don't even know. And because of that, literally, you can change the history and the destiny of the Jewish people. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.